Welcome to the Socality Show. My name is Scott Bakken and I'm your host for today. And today we're talking to Lachlan Shum, the founder of Focal, which is a web-based platform designed to help you build your own website for creators. And so today we're going to be talking all about your website, what you're missing, what you need, and what you can do to gain better leads and help your business thrive. So welcome to the show, Lachlan.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here. It's great.
It's great to have you. And you are from Vancouver, but born and raised in Calgary.
That's right. Yeah, I was born in Vancouver. I lived in Calgary most of my life, and then for the last 10 years, I've been in Victoria now. So
nice. And you're here
so
as
bad.
well as part of our Socality Mastermind. Tonight we're having a mastermind with you, with our Socality members, and so you're going to be downloading into them, ripping them apart, roasting their websites.
Pretty harsh.
Yeah, we like it though.
We get a little fiery.
Good. We need the fire because we can't get better without the fire.
Yeah, something that I've noticed, like, doing website roasts lately with our photographers or other audiences, I've found that, the spicier I get, the more people kind of like that. Actually, I was roasting a bunch of Americans, and they were like, "This is a Canadian roast. This isn't a real roast.
Oh, it was too tame.
Too tame.
It was too kind.
Too tame.
Just when you think you're being mean.
Yeah. So I've been turning up the heat a little bit now. So
it's like the Simon Cowell. We love it. We love the truth.
Yeah.
The truth helps us because we can't really grow without it. And I think as creators, we need to hear. Feedback can be hurtful, but it can be so helpful at the same time because without it, we can't grow. And so I imagine someone like you feel like you're hurting people, but at the end of the day, you're here to help them.
Well, definitely. Like, I think that's it. It comes from a place of like, look, I really appreciate what you do as a creative. I can see the value, and I want to see your clients see that value as well and be able to benefit from it. So why not help you? It really obviously comes from a place of wanting to help.
For sure. And so let's just, for everyone listening, they're not familiar with you. We want them to get to know you. Who are you? What is Focal? And how did you come up with this idea? Big question.
Fantastic question. Yeah. So as you mentioned, I'm Lachlan Shum. I am the founder and CEO of Focal. We're essentially a software platform that helps creatives build a website, take bookings, essentially make money, get paid, sign contracts. We try to streamline everything because I know that can be such a barrier for, a creative that's, first of all, they've mastered their craft. They're starting to work more on the marketing, the business side. They're ready to turn this more from passion into a real business. And often I hear that is a really big hurdle. Like, how do I actually do the business stuff? How do I get a website? How do I go and get contracts signed? How do I take payments? And I don't think that should be a hurdle. Like, it's silly to me that as a business, if you're delivering an amazing service or a product, those shouldn't be the barriers for you. And I do see a lot of creatives get kind of stuck there where they're just like, oh, this is too overwhelming setting up this website or figuring out SEO or figuring out how to do this like marketing thing. And we don't want you to get stuck there. That's the reality. And if we can get you past that, it's pretty amazing getting to see creatives thrive when you break down some of those walls.
And why did you start at Focal?
Yeah, so that's a really great question, and I get this a lot. And I think this story is really interesting because I am not what I would call at least like a creative, or I'm not a photographer myself. And so I actually got into this industry and into Focal because I was in Banff with my partner, Aaron, and I'm a bit of a sappy guy. So I was like, you know what, it would be really nice just to capture some moments. It was our anniversary there. I thought it would be super cool to hire like a photographer, maybe get some photos taken of us on this trip, and then maybe scrapbook it or frame it or something. I thought that'd be really nice. And while I'm very thoughtful and a bit of a sappy guy, I'm also very last minute. And what I think is most interesting about this story is I'm like a typical customer. I'm such a typical customer. I was like a couple days before heading off to Banff for anniversary, and I did what most normal people do. I went on Google and I was like, Banff couples photographer, right? And I started looking through all these websites, and suddenly I was down this like 4-hour rabbit hole trying to just like figure out like, how can I get somebody to take my money to do this thing that I really want them to do? So I would find all these photographers, I'd message them. I would, obviously love their photos and be interested in working with them. But there was just so many hurdles. Like, what is it that you actually offer? How much does it cost? How does this work? How do I pay and get confirmed? And I ended up having to exchange like so many emails back and forth with these photographers that I didn't end up booking anyone. And it was really sad because that trip, which was kind of the genesis of Focal and also a really important milestone in our relationship, we don't have any like really nice photos from it. I have a couple like iPhone selfies, but I was just sad because like here I am, like literally someone like, take my money, please. And you know, these creatives, it's like, you guys are so bad at selling. Like here's somebody that's like, let me tap my card now. And you made it so hard for me that like, we couldn't make it happen. Like people would take too long to respond, or they'd come back asking me questions about the questions I was asking, and no one was really there to solve my problem, which is what I wanted. And so that really kind of gave me the idea to build tools for creatives, for photographers, that makes it easier for them to literally get their customers to give them money easier. And that's essentially the premise.
Right. You were looking for basically just go on a website, click purchase, and have someone meet you ready to take your photos for the exchange. But the problems you were facing is, were you struggling because creators didn't know how much to charge? Was that one of the problems?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge problem for sure. It's like, first of all, you type in Banff photographer and a lot of wedding photographers come up, but I just wanted a couples shoot. So, okay, like, how do I do a couples shoot? Or how do I book you for a couples shoot? If I'm lucky, they have a bunch of photos on their site that are couples photos. And then that's it. There's like nothing to buy. My analogy is like, imagine going to like a store and the shelves are like empty. You're like, what do I even buy here? Like, and that's kind of like the experience. I'm like, ooh, I really like that, but there's no price on it. There's no way for me to actually pay for it. Like the only way I can move forward, which often isn't clear, is like fill out this random contact form. And then you get these contact forms that are like, when are you getting married? Like, what's your wedding venue? I'm like, I'm not getting married. I just want a couple shoot in Banff. And then you fill that out and you wait. And that can be a really frustrating experience, you know, waiting and then not knowing like, oh, is this going to work out? Should I just like wait for them to get back to me? And that back and forth is really kind of the death of like, I mean, a booking.
Yeah. And what is the thing on your platform that helps fix that problem?
I think there's a big difference in how people are going about purchasing behavior. So the old school way, which I think is what a lot of photographers do, let's say like you were buying a car. Like the old school way would be like you walk into a car dealership, you have no idea like what types of cars are out there. You go in there, a sales guy comes up, it's like, hey, like, can I help you buy a car? And you're like, yep. And he starts asking questions. He shows you different ones. You do lots of different test drives. You are getting sold. Somebody is there to hold your hand and sell you. Now, you know, the buying behavior is so much more like people want to have their own say. They don't want to feel like they're being sold by a greasy salesperson. They want to do their own research, gather their own information, and then like pretty much go in that car dealership and be like, you know what, I'd like that one with this trim, and I already know what the financing rates are, and I want this color and these options, and don't sell me the extended warranty, like here's my check. And that's essentially the user flow or user journey that we're trying to create for photographers. Can I go on a wedding photographer's website, see the different packages they offer? Maybe there's an elopement package. Maybe there's a, you know, backyard wedding package. Maybe there's an adventure hiking elopement package. Maybe there's a full day wedding package with video. Like, is there a way that someone can come on your site, figure out which package is the right fit for them, you know, see the pricing right there, see that you're available, and just be like, hey, I want to book you for this like $8,000 wedding package. This one looks like a great fit, you know, let's do this thing. And that's like literally what we've achieved with Focal. Like people will come on a Focal website and our photographers get inquiries that are just like, hey, I'd like this package. And these aren't cheap packages. It's like $10,000 weddings, $8,000 weddings, but people are busy. They don't have a lot of time. They don't want to feel like they're being sold. And if they can make the decision themselves, it makes it so much easier for the creative because you don't have to do any selling yourself. Your website like did all the selling for you, and it's a better customer experience because it allowed me to feel educated and kind of like in control of my own decision making.
Right. So building packages, because I think one thing creatives get lost in is they try to do too much or try to curate to the individual too much.
Yeah.
So you're finding a response with just set packages.
Absolutely. I love packages. Like people aren't like, if you go into a store and you see like, say there's a furniture store I can see out the window here, West Elm. Like say you go in there, you see a couch you like, but it's an ugly color. You go up to the salesperson, you're like, hey, I really like this couch. Like, can I come in blue? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And then like you have a blue couch now. It's not rocket science. Like people go on a photographer's website, they'll find a package that they like, and then they'll just be like, oh, this one looks really good, but can we add an extra hour, or can we add video to it? Like they understand, but it's like a nice starting point for them rather than coming on a website, just seeing a bunch of photos and then being like, okay, cool. I really like your photos, but like, what does it cost? What do you offer? How does it work? You know, all those other questions that could be easily answered. The packages allow them to have a starting point to even start to imagine like, what is it like to book this photographer?
For sure. And so I'm hearing that clarity is really important for
communication and
communication
really
and clarity. Yeah.
And I think as creatives, it's hard to communicate the value. Like, honestly, like most of the time I work with photographers, or I'm mentoring, or other creatives, they're like, yeah, I have packages on my site. And then I go there and I'll use the photographer example because it's easy, but you know, it might be a wedding package. Okay, I have an 8-hour wedding package. You get 2,000 photos. It's $2,000 and that's it. Like that's the package. It's a bunch of bullet points. And then they wonder why clients are booking their competitor down the road that's a little bit cheaper, has a couple more hours, delivers more photos. And when we talk about conveying value, we'll go back to the car dealership example. When you're describing your package as like 8 hours, X number of photos, X price, you're literally like, imagine going into a car dealership and the salesman's like, here's this car. It's got 4 doors, an engine, a steering wheel, and 280 horsepower. And you're like, cool. That means nothing to me. Like super unhelpful. I have no idea like if that's a good car or not for me. But if they come in and they say like, look, this is a great family vehicle, super reliable. It's got enough horsepower that if you need to pass people on the highway when you're going skiing, it's great. You know, it's never going to break down. It's going to get you A to B. You're going to be like, okay, cool. That's either a great fit. I have a family. I just want something reliable, perfect. Or you're going to be like, nah, I don't really want that. I want more of like a luxury, faster performance car with 2 doors or something. Like it gives a starting point and it allows people to resonate whether or not that is a good fit for them.
Right. Now, for those listening who are watching who are thinking, you know, I need a website because they are on social media. They're trying to get their business built. Why should they come to Focal? Like, what is it just for photographers, or is there more opportunities for different creators on that platform?
Yeah, definitely. So we mainly cater to photographers, but we do work with a lot of other service-based creatives. So people that are offering like coaching services, other types of like creative services. It can be utilized for that for sure. And it all comes down to just like being able to present yourself in a way that people understand what it is you're offering, can like resonate with it and decide right then and there if it's like a good fit or not for them. So I would say like 100%. First of all, I would say if you don't have a website yet, just get a website. That's a great start. We'll talk about that more in the mastermind today. Yeah. But, you know, I think a lot of creatives, you know, they start with like maybe Instagram or something, and then they don't have a website. But just taking that step is really important.
So let's talk about that, because I believe in having a website. People say it's 2024. Is it still important to have a website nowadays?
100%. Yeah. I think it's so important having a website because it's a big part of your marketing funnel. Like if we talk about how people find you, where do they go? Like for me, it's like either I'm like, if I'm Googling Banff couples photographer, or, you know, branding creative services or something in Calgary, like you can't show up. You're missing out on like an entire marketing channel if you don't have a website. And I also think that trust is really important. If you don't have a website, it's kind of like, are you a professional or not? A lot of creatives I notice on social media particularly, it's hard to tell, like, are you a personal blog or are you like a store to buy things? Like, are you just showing off, or are you offering things that like can help me and that I can buy? And the website is a great way to do that if it's done properly.
Right. So credibility is so important there.
Credibility is huge. And, you know, especially if you're working with high-end brands, luxury wedding clients, like it's just another way to check off the box that says like, hey, this person is real, they're professional. I mean, like if you can't, like if I was a client and this person can't put in the effort to make a decent website, like why am I spending all this money on you?
Yeah, fair enough. So let's talk about websites when it comes down to the basics.
Oh yeah.
What are some of the basics creators need on their website?
Love this. I am all about doing like the lowest amount of effort for the most amount of impact. And I think creators like often make very common mistakes when it comes to things like website, where you like often I have photographers that are alt tagging or naming their images. And I'm like, don't do that. Like, please, like that is like so far down the optimization list. We're talking like, if we're in an F1 race, we're trying to shave like the tiniest bit of drag off of the car. Always start with the basics, right? One thing I often see creatives get wrong is that they have a website, but it's literally doing nothing because they never knew that they needed to actually submit it to like Google. This is a very common thing. Like someone will come up and be like, Lachlan, you talk about blogging. Like I've been blogging for a year, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I go like check out their website, or maybe I'm doing a website roast, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like first of all, good job blogging, but your blog isn't even on Google. And they're like, what? It's not on Google? And I'm like, yeah, like, did you ever submit it to Google? And they're like, what do you mean submit it to Google? I'm like, you have to do this. You have to make sure your website is configured in the right way so that Google can read it. You need to make sure you need to wave at Google and let them know that it exists. If you don't do those things, you can run into a situation where you've put in all this effort and like it's literally not doing you any SEO benefit because like your site literally just isn't showing up on Google.
Right.
So there are very basic things like that.
And you help with that.
Oh yeah. So like that's something that like Focal would do automatically for you.
Okay.
You know, there are a lot of website builders out there where they expect you to do those things yourself. They expect you to like set up a site map. They expect you to put proper keywords in the titles of your pages and things like that. So that's, again, really important. And we can talk about that more in the mastermind, but just trying to get those basic things down, it's really important, and understanding what the user journeys are as well.
So, you know, we talked about the packages and putting your pricing. So creators should be putting their pricing front facing. This is probably, you know, because we get a lot of this. How much are you charging? Yeah. Is this a good thing, a bad thing? Is it competitive? Does it take away the edge? Like, what is that whole thing like in your brain?
Sure. Yeah. I think there's no one size fits all solution, of course, but I think there are a lot of advantages to showing pricing. And if you are going to make the decision to show your pricing on your site, do it properly. You know, don't do the like, here's my wedding package and it's like this number of hours, this number of photos, and this price. Because of course now that person is going to see that package and they're going to go compare you against somebody that just has like more photos or more hours. You know, you need to kind of talk more about the experience, you know, not be just the bullet points, but actually convey the value of the experience. So, you know, if I'm booking, you know, a wedding package with you, you know, what am I getting? Talk about your experience, show testimonials on that package, you know, make it more vibrant. Say, you know, hey, if you're having a full day wedding with like 300 people and you want to make sure we get photos of everybody, we want coverage from, you know, getting ready, having a second shooter to make sure we get photos of you both getting ready, all the way to like, you know, multiple angles during the ceremony, if that's important to you. Like you can talk about like your experience and why this package might be suited towards that person. And then being able to do that allows you to resonate with them in a way that's so much more than just like a bunch of bullet points. So when we talk about pricing, I always say like, if you want to show your pricing, like make sure you're doing it in a way that's like, that people understand. Don't be like, this is a car, it's got like 4 doors and 200 horsepower. You know what I mean?
Really sell it.
Sell it. Yeah.
Like how you came up with that price.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Why are you worth it? What makes you special?
Right. So, and you haven't seen anything that's a drawback from showing your prices forward facing?
Well, I think if you're a really good salesperson, hide your prices. Okay. But most creatives are not good salespeople.
I see.
Yeah. So I had this funny experience.
They're
not. They're bad. We were running one of Focal's Nauta conferences in Nashville, and I had this funny experience. We went and hired this band. this was like in Nashville. We're like, might as well get some like music
Yeah,
going. We hired this band. They're called the Beans. And
Shout out to the Beans.
Shout out to the Beans. We actually listen to them in the office all the time now, but just like a bunch of like guys and amazing talent. Anyway, we're booking them, and I forget. I think I was like, you know what? I have a budget of like $1,000 for this. Like, go find somebody. Yeah. And our team went and found the Beans, and we're like, hey, like, what's it going to cost to book you? And they came back and they were like, oh yeah, like $300 or something. And I was like, sure, $300 for an hour. That sounds great. And then what was funny is like leading up to the event, we get an email from the Beans and they say, hey, you know what? We've thought about it a little more, and this is a lot of work. You know, we got to drag all our gear to the venue, set up the drum kit. Like, they
didn't know that. They've never done this before.
No, seriously. And it was the funniest thing because the email is like, you know what? It is a lot more work. So like, if you'd be comfortable with it, could we do $400 instead of $300? And the funny thing too is like at the very end of the email, it was like, but if that doesn't work, no problem. 300 is totally good too. Yeah. And I was just laughing so hard at this email because it's like totally the example of a creative being really terrible at selling, doing an awful job of like conveying the value of their pricing. Because if they had been like, hey, this is our like corporate 1 hour package where we come and play music at your little venue. We bring all our gear. We need time to get set up before. There's 4 of us. Here's like a sample of our song list. And it's $1,000. I would see that price and just be like, yeah, that seems totally like reasonable. I would have paid $1,000.
Break down the line items.
Sure. Yeah. Like explain what the value is. Cause I have no idea. Like I didn't even think of like having to like drag the drum kit. I'm like, heck yeah, that sounds like a lot of work. Right. But if you explain it to me now, I can value it.
Right.
So that's really what it's about. It's if you can explain the effort that goes into it, then I can value it. And I think as creatives, it's very easy to take everything that you've learned, your experience, everything that you put into delivering such a powerful experience and service, and pretty much take that for granted and not realize like the value of that.
Right. And you said sometimes we overcomplicate these websites. Should we be updating them weekly, refreshing them? Like what kind of maintenance should we be putting into our websites?
Oh yeah, great question. I mean, I think it's good to be always kind of auditing your site or bouncing it off other people. If you're doing new projects, like putting them up there, that helps show that you're relevant, that you're doing things. If you ever go to like, it's like going to someone's Instagram and yet they haven't posted in like 3 years. You're like, is this person alive? Like, I don't know. So that's really great. And then I know with photographers, the style evolves a lot over time. Yeah. And so, Lindsay Coulter, my good friend, she's at a focal site now for like 3 years. And when we first built her site, it had a certain look to it, but her style has even evolved since then. And it's been really important for her to like cull her images to reflect the style now, so that there isn't any like confusion for a client coming on the site and seeing like 2 different types of work. I have one more quick example of this. Like, I was working with a photographer where a lot of their work was shot natural light, and it was very warm and beautiful. And then they had a lot of work that was more like commercial. And it had like obviously using like flash and stuff. And so you take like 2 family photos on their website, one clearly like flash, another clearly like natural light, both amazing photos. But those are 2 different products that like might confuse a client coming on your site. Like they go on, they see, and it's inconsistent. So I think it is important to like kind of get in your client's shoes and think about like, how are they perceiving the site? What is it telling them?
Right. We've talked about what we should have on our site. What are some common mistakes that you see that people are putting on their websites that don't need to be there?
The number one problem that I see is I go to a photographer's site and I have no idea who you are or where you are. Okay. It's the basic like who, what, why, when, like, totally. Like I go to a site and it doesn't even say like, oh, you're a Calgary creative or you're a Calgary photographer. Like that's really important to me because I want to make sure that I'm not like just looking at some random person across the world that like I can't actually book. And then I notice a lot of creatives are really afraid of like putting themselves out there. at least in photography, my perspective is that when someone chooses you, they're choosing you. It's half the photos, sure, or half the art or the creativity, but the other half is you. Because it's a service, you are so involved in the process. And so it's important to put yourself on the site.
Right.
So
Get yourself
important.
up there. Personality.
Personality.
Who you
face.
are, where you live.
We're human. Like, if I can't see your face, it's so hard to trust. It's like, imagine Scott Bakken and there's no photo. Like, I can't even imagine that. But if I can see your face and you seem like a friendly person, which you are,
thank you.
Then it's like, okay, like I can start to imagine this relationship. I can imagine you taking my headshots, or I can imagine you working with my business, or imagine you at my wedding.
I definitely see what you're talking about, credibility, because when I look at people on Instagram, I always go to their website, and if you can see, you know, and I think up to date is important because it does show activity.
Totally.
You know, whether you're posting or whether you're updating your site and they see like a fresh post or a blog post or something that's recent, it lets you know that you're in the game. And I know for me, if I want to hire or work with somebody, I at least want to hire somebody that's moving, you know, that there's activity.
Yeah.
It's like if you find someone's photos and like, they're amazing, you go back and like, there's no update here. It's exactly that whole thing of, are they alive? And are they even interested in working with me? But I like what you're saying about, you know, the offer and selling packages. So with people that have worked with Focal, have you been able to gather, you know, testimonials or whatever that have proven, you know, increased business?
Yeah, it's funny. I was, you know, just preparing for this and having a look, and we do a lot of bookings. We see about 5,000 bookings a year through our platform.
Wow.
$6 million in gross bookings. So we see a lot of business go through and see how it goes through. I would say the biggest feedback we get from people that switch to using Focal is their inquiries are very different. They aren't, how much does it cost? You know, what do you offer? It becomes, hey, I looked at your site and I saw this package and I think it's a great fit for me. Maybe we tweak this one thing, but you know, let me know the next steps. Like literally that's the level
They're
of
ready to
commitment.
purchase.
They're ready to purchase. So you go from having clients that are coming to your online presence, and instead of being, you know, this super far away and still needing all these questions answered before they're ready to commit, they're already ready to commit. They've already made the decision themselves, and that's because your online presence is already sold for you. So when we come back to like the decision of like, do I want to have a website or not? My question is actually more, do you want to sell or not? Do you want your online presence to do the selling, or do you want to do it yourself, face to face, in person, over email, over the phone, however you do it?
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, this is all very exciting. So for creators listening that are just like, man, they feel like they're in a whirlwind situation, you know, because this is the way creators are. Yeah. We usually have a lot going on. We're firing from the hip. Totally. What are some encouragements that you'd like to just deposit into creators today as they're listening?
Oh my gosh. Like, you can just do it. You can do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Done is better than perfect. Like, you know, just do something. So if you've been like dragging your heels on something like getting a website, just do it. It's one thing that you've checked off that's going to make your life a little bit easier. And then, you know, you don't have to feel the stress of like the anxiety of like, how do I do it? Am I choosing the right platform? All these questions, right? Just do something. You're going to learn a lot from that experience.
Yeah. And I know finally this, as creators, like when setting up your website can be intimidating, even as some of them are quite easy.
Yeah.
When I come to Focal, do you offer mentorship? Do you offer guidance? Are you accessible? Is your team accessible? If I come and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, how can you help me get on my feed? Get me live online?
100%. Yeah. So we kind of have two options. One option is like we're going to take you by the hand and take you to the touchdown zone here. That's what we call our pro setup. So we actually offer a service where, you know, if you are really struggling, this has been on your to-do list forever, you can come to us, say you're a photographer or your videographer, just send us your content. So you send us your photos, your videos. We usually have a consult call to get to know you a little bit, and that's it. You pay us. We build the whole site, and you're good to go. That's actually what Nicole Ashley pretty much did.
Right.
So that's something you can do. The other thing you can do is you can go to like bookfocal.com and you can just build a site yourself with our website builder. And we utilize a lot of AI to help you generate packages, to help you generate blog posts, to help you generate the biography copy on the site. And it's also kind of structured in a way that's really oriented towards getting you business. This isn't an art gallery, it's a store.
Right. Yes. Viewing yourself more as a store open for business versus like a portfolio.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is what we need to do to pay the bills.
Yeah. I think like until you are at the very top of your game, you got to be a store. Like you may eventually get to the luxury where you can just be a portfolio and you've already established yourself enough that people just come. But the reality is that you have to put a little effort in. You can't just put your creativity out there and expect money to fall out of the sky.
Very good. You need to be active to see a reaction. Lachlan, this has been so good. I'm looking forward to our Socality membership mastermind with our members and have you roast there. I know you've already pre-looked at some of their websites, so you've got some
just
notes.
A quick look. I don't want
just a quick look. So yeah, for those listening that aren't yet part of the Socality membership, we have a great membership that you can join where we have people like Lachlan mentoring, doing masterminds, connecting the community all over the world, empowering you. And so this podcast is just a little wet your whistle of some of the things that we teach on when it comes to empowering creators and, of course, connecting creators all over the world. So Lachlan, where can people find you for those listening, watching, and they want to follow the journey of Lachlan?
Heck yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. We have a little page set up. If you go to bookfocal.com/Socality, you can sign up there and we have some like free courses and resources that we can send over. So if you're struggling with SEO or struggling with your website, we've got a lot of content that can help you overcome those hurdles. So check that out. And we're always here to help. Feel free to shoot me a message or the Bookfocal Instagram. Again, we're always here to raise creatives up. So any way that we can help.
Nice. Well, creators, we are looking forward to making money this year and using things like Focal to help us to do it. And Lachlan, you've been so encouraging, empowering. You've deposited some great information into us. So everybody, you need to go look at your website. And if you need a revamp and you're not selling your services, give Focal a try out and follow Lachlan. And once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will see you on the next episode.